Hey guys, this is Tor, and today we're going to be going over the top 10 precons, in my opinion, that you guys can purchase for Magic the Gathering right now. These are all obviously focused around Commander. We're looking at Commander precons. There's a couple things that I'll talk about. First of all, you'll notice a big kind of change to the list. We kind of went through, rejigged everything up, and kind of made changes based on some things kind of dropping out of the meta a little bit more because, you know, they're just getting a bit more power crept. Some things they were just a little bit more expensive, or they're not going to kind of serve you well into the future, in our opinion. The other thing is that I've excluded secret lairs, so you won't see, you know, raining cats and dogs on here. You won't see the angels one or anything like that. I didn't want them to be things that aren't really available. I wanted them to be kind of, you know, precons that are available now that you can go purchase and pick up soon, or, you know, or right now. Most of these I think are still available. There's a couple that might be a little bit harder to find or a little bit more expensive because they're a little bit older and more powerful, but generally all of them you should be able to find now, or, you know, soon, because, you know, some of the Murders at Carl of Mana ones are going to be on here. We also have two bonus ones that we're going to be able to cover as well. One I've put on here because it allows you to kind of test out a whole bunch of different stuff because you're going to be playing, you know, other people's decks. And then the other one's on there because it's just got an insane amount of really great reprints. I don't think the deck itself works incredibly well, but overall the reprints on that set, on that deck, are just really great. Before we get into it though, I want to make sure that you guys, you know, hopefully you can subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers at the moment. Last time we did a video like this, it absolutely skyrocketed. So I'm really hoping that, you know, this one skyrockets out and you guys can subscribe, so that way we can hit up to that 1,000. So our first one here we're going to be talking about is Blame Game. Now these aren't in any particular order because I believe they all kind of have their own pros and cons and everything. Some of them are going to be really strong against certain other decks. Some of them are just going to be broadly really great. Some of them are going to be, you know, stronger because of the reprints on them, while some are stronger because of the new cards. So they're a little bit all over the place. So I didn't want to kind of nail it down to this is the number one, but generally the ones that are kind of, you know, more recent. So we're looking at the Murders at Carl of Mana ones and the Lost Caverns of Ixalan ones. Both of those have amazing reprints, but generally, you know, they're pretty decently strong as well. So the first one here is Blame Game. This is based around Nelly Borka and the goading mechanic. So you're going to be kind of goading all of your enemy's creatures. It's also got suspecting, so she's going to suspect everyone, suspect a creature and then goad all suspected creatures. But the thing about this one is that you don't even necessarily need to be goading things or suspecting things or anything like that. The whole deck is built around making your friends hit each other, so that way you get benefits from it. You get to sit back, watch your friends fight and infight against each other. You're getting drawing cards. They're going to be encouraged to fight their friends, so that way you get drawing cards and they get drawing cards themselves. And then you've got other stuff in here that's going to allow you to be able to goad stuff, being able to allow you to do classic kind of Boros aggro, being able to kind of flood the board with some really great stuff, and then your enemies are going to be kind of fighting each other while you're just sitting over here kind of building up your own kind of resources. So there's lots of really great stuff in here, including reprints as well as the new cards as well. I think Nelly Borka is crazy card draw in the command zone as well. Card draw in the command zone overall is just going to be strong, but it's going to be even stronger, especially because generally Boros is not incredibly known for their card draw, so it's kind of taking that weakness and then turning it into a buff, especially because of the sheer amount of card draw that you're going to be able to have here. You've got some really great kind of reprints in here, as I said, as well as, you know, some great new cards like Prisoner's Dilemma is just overall one of the most flavorful, amazingly fun cards. And not only can you cast it once, you can then flashback it later on, making your friends choose if they want to damage each other, choose if they want to throw each other under the bus. It's just really cool and a great kind of deck overall. Next up, we've got the Enduring Enchantment. So this one here is based around having enchantment creatures. Generally, the way it's working is you're playing your enchantments. They end up in the graveyard for whatever reason. Then you can resurrect them. Then you've got the ability to be able to give them all menace with your commander. So you've got a lot of different enchantments kind of built in here. It's generally a very strong deck, and the way like having sagas and stuff that are going to sacrifice themselves and then being able to bring them back with your commander is really good. There's some great kind of prints in here as well. Overall, it's just an incredibly kind of strong deck compared to some of the other ones that they've kind of released in here. There's clear ways that you're able to kind of upgrade it, increasing, you know, some of the removal, some of the sorceries and stuff, kind of dropping some of the enchantments that aren't kind of, you know, going to be able to be quite up to snuff. But overall, it's just a really kind of solid deck. It's going to be a bit on the harder side to find and a little bit more expensive because it's one of those Commander Masters ones that they decide to increase the price but not necessarily increase the worth of it, but it's still a really great kind of solid kind of precon. Next up, we've got Exit from Exile. Now, with red and green combined with Gruul lately, there's been a lot of cards that are playing from Exile, more kind of on the red hand side. And the way, you know, this deck work is you want to be able to play kind of stuff from Exile. It's got some really great prints in here with Passionate Archaeologist, which is a crazy great enchantment, not for necessarily even for anything that's going to be using the background, but just any kind of commander that is based around playing stuff from Exile, especially like the Doctor Who stuff, for example. You're going to be able to do some crazy great stuff with this. You've also got a Jeska's Will in here. Jeska's Will as well is getting another reprint in one of the one of the new decks as well. I believe it's the Disguise deck. It's going to get a reprint in there, but generally you're going to be able to pick up this one for cheaper. The Battle for Baldur's Gate ones kind of go on sale a little bit, but overall kind of it's going to get you some solid cards. It's going to be able to, you know, play solidly out of the box as well as being able to kind of toy around with some kind of a little bit more of the more mechanically minded kind of mechanics. Wow. Okay. Some more mechanically heavy kind of stuff with playing from Exile and stuff, which is a little bit more advanced. So we've got next the Cavalry Charge one. So this is based around Sidar Jabari and a whole bunch of knights, knight tribal essentially, and one of the only creatures that's been printed with Eminence. I think it's actually the only creature that's been printed with Eminence beyond the initial 2017, I think it was, Precons that had Eminence in it. Sidar allows you to be able to discard a card and then draw a card and then discard a card, whether he's in the command zone or whether he's on the battlefield. So you're going to be able to do that constantly. If he's in the battlefield, then you get to return a knight from your graveyard to the battlefield. Overall, this is an incredibly strong precon. It's going to be a little bit harder to find because, you know, it was strong and people kind of picked it up pretty fast because of the fact that it was on the stronger side. In regards to reprints, there's not any super duper amazing reprints. Like there's some solid ones in here, but not kind of anything that's, you know, insanely powerful, but there's kind of like solid prints overall. Also, because of the fact that it's knights, there's going to be a lot of knights that are printed until the end of time. So you've got a lot of ways to be able to upgrade it. Overall, as I said, just a really kind of strong deck out of the box, but, you know, being able to upgrade it as well later on because of the fact that it's a mechanic that's going to stick around for a while. Knights are always going to be printed, whether it's, you know, in the upcoming like Bloomburrow or something like that. There's going to be some, you know, animal knights in there and stuff. There's going to be lots of really great knights coming out, so you can kind of upgrade it as you're going. We've got the Masters of Evil one. So this is from the Doctor Who set. Personally, I like the idea of taking this one and kind of combining it with the Mishra's deck as well to be able to create like a artifact deck with a whole bunch of Daleks and everything kind of going around the place there. The Masters of Evil one has some clear ways to be able to upgrade it because of the fact that generally with the Universe Beyond ones, they kind of take like 2 or 3 themes and kind of shove it into one precon, but the Masters of Evil one isn't too heavy on that. They've got the villainous choice stuff, and then they've got like the artifact creatures and Daleks and pumping out different Daleks and stuff, or the Cybermen as well, which is more kind of artifact creatures. A lot of kind of artifact creature stuff in here, but there's some stuff in here that you'd be able to clearly be able to replace with stuff from, as I said, like the Mishra's Precon or something along those lines, to be able to create an insane deck and kind of tune more into that kind of the artifact creatures and everything, but out of the box it's still a decently solid precon. You kind of you pay a little bit extra because of the fact there's a Universes Beyond one, and because you've got the Planar deck in there as well. But even then, like, you know, you've got some decent, like the lands, for example. You don't need to upgrade the lands in this precon as much as some other ones. You've got, like, you know, Blasphemous Axe, some nice kind of overall, some nice kind of reprints in here too. Nothing too insane, but something like solid. And, you know, overall, it's just a very kind of solid deck. We've got Deep Clue C. So this is one of the new ones from Murders of Ravnica. We've got Morscar, another kind of card drawer in the command zone because of the fact that she is going to investigate at the beginning of each of your upkeeps. This deck just has insanely great reprints. Like I've talked about it in multiple videos already. I'm not going to kind of drive home too far into it. Like, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but there is an insane amount of really kind of great reprints in here that overall, just buying the deck, even just for the reprint, is going to be worth it, in my opinion. Like, even Adrix and Nev is currently like a $40 card. It's a great, really great kind of card. So having that reprinted in here is really great. There's, you know, so many different ways you can potentially upgrade the deck, as well as the deck overall together is solid because of the fact that, you know, you've got card draw, heaps of card draw. Card draw is really great in Commander. You've got great stuff to kind of support if you're drawing multiple cards on your turn. You've got great stuff to be able to support that, whether it's buffing up stuff. You know, you've also got Sophia, which is one of the first commanders that is like dog tribal commander. So, you know, down the line, if you decide to kind of pull it apart, but you absolutely love dogs, you could potentially make a dog-based tribal commander with Sophia. There's lots of just really kind of great stuff, whether it's the reprints, whether it's the new cards, just kind of even like Coma. I'm so surprised that Coma got reprinted in here, that it's nice. Like, you've got overall, just, yeah, like, you've got the clues, you've got the card advantage, you've got the artifact support. There's just a whole bunch of stuff kind of going for this one. And if I had to choose a number one on this list, this would be up there. I wouldn't say it's necessarily number one because I don't like choosing favorites between my children, but I would say it's at least like arguing that it could be a number one. Next, we've got the Blood Rites one. This one is crazy because of the fact that for some very minimal swaps, you can make stuff kind of go infinite in this deck. You know, just swapping in like a Sanguine Blood, for example, or Sanguine Bond. You can make this go infinite with the Exquisite Blood, for example. It's based on vampire tribal. Vampires, like sacrificing your vampires to create vampire demons, big kind of beef sticks that are going to be able to, you know, have flying and everything. But I've taken this deck apart myself to be able to build my Amalia deck, but it generally, like, you know, at least I think it's at least 2/3 of this deck is still in there because it's just got some great stuff. It's got, you know, solid reprints in here, whether it's the actual you know, the instances, spells, and even the sorceries and enchantments. There's solid reprints across the board. But then you've got stuff like the Charismatic Conqueror, which was a new card in here, a Staxi card, which is going to be crazy good for nearly any white deck that's going to be wanting to have things out on the board, which is, you know, like nearly every white deck is going to want more creatures out there. There's, you know, the actual mana base, you'll have to do, I think, a fair few upgrades for it. At least from my experience, I think that it needs a fair few upgrades there. But overall, the rest of the actual deck is pretty solid. Pretty solid across the board, and some clear ways to be able to upgrade it with either more vampires or just take out the vampires, switch it more to an aristocrats deck, switch it over to a lifelink deck. You could switch it in so many different ways that it's just going to be great. I think mine's at the moment, it's aristocrat with reanimator with Amalia at the board, so to be able to put stuff into the graveyard. So overall, you know, there's just heaps of different ways you could potentially take that. Next, we've got the Explorers of the Deep. This precon is incredibly strong out of the deck, out of the pack as well. Huckball, being able to explore constantly. You're going to be able to get, constant additional land out in after he attacks, which is great. You're going to be able to have some decent kind of solid reprints in here as well. Branching Evolutions. We've got Hardened Scales in here. We've got Kindred Discovery, some decent kind of stuff in there. Based around kind of merfolk tribal here, so there's some really solid kind of merfolk across the board as well. This one here is, I would say, one of the strongest precons that they've ever released, besides the initial kind of 2017 Eminence broken ass ones that they released there. I wouldn't say, it's potentially stronger than those, but even then they needed some upgrades, while this one doesn't need as many upgrades, I don't think. Overall, there's a lot of different ways that you can potentially upgrade this to make it bonkers strong as well as I said, like out of the box is just really good. Next, we've got the Riders of Rohan. So this one here is like two different themes that kind of war a little bit, but they work better together than some other themes work. So it's human tribal, like human tribal with the kind of main commander and everything, a whole bunch of kind of knight stuff in here too, but then it's also a kind of secondary theme here for the monarch and the monarch kind of mechanic here. So you've got some decent kind of prints throughout here, but overall it's just mostly the new cards that are really strong in here, in my opinion, and overall they just work really well together with the commander is just really strong. Eowyn, I'm really bad at pronouncing her name, the Shield Maiden chick here. Overall, I just think that this one's a pretty solid precon, especially from not too long ago. It's going to be a little bit harder to find because the Universe Beyond precons, they don't print them as quite as much, and who knows if they're kind of going to get any reprints, because they've got to kind of decide with whoever they're getting the licensing from, whether it's the BBC, whether it's whoever's in charge of, I don't know, I think it's Embracer Group, I don't know, whoever's in charge of the licensing. They've got to obviously work with them to be able to reprint it and everything. But overall, the precon is relatively pretty solid. Human tribal, again, humans are going to get reprinted until the end of time. Every set is very likely, I'm not going to say guaranteed, because Bloomberg are unlikely to have any humans there, but generally they're going to have a lot of reprints, a lot of new humans and stuff, as well as there being lots of humans that are already reprinted that you can potentially find use of here as well. And then the final one here for our top 10 is going to be Pantlaza. This one here is the two different themes, which is unusual, or a little bit less unusual for the non-Universes Beyond ones, but this one here had a more significant theme than the others generally do as a side theme, which was the training your dragons and the enrage mechanic. But generally this is around Pantlaza cheating out dinos by having the discover mechanic. You play a dino, you get to discover through, get another dino, put it out onto the graveyard, get it out onto the board. People kind of look at Pantlaza and they're like, oh, you can only do this once per turn. For a start, it's once per turn, not just on your turn. So if you play a dinosaur somehow on someone else's turn, then you get to do it then. As well as there's lots of ways to be able to blink Pantlaza out and then back in. And then because of the way that works, then you're going to be able to discover again. So there's lots of really great ways to kind of be able to do that. There's some just, solid kind of reprints throughout here as well. The Ixalan precons had some decently great kind of reprints, which was really nice. So you've got those kind of decent reprints there, as well as out of the box. It plays relatively well. I think that there's some clear kind of cards that you can potentially cut from here. Like there's this kind of like the dinosaur egg, for example, I don't think is great. And I don't remember if it's in here. No. Like there's just some cards that are kind of clear cards that you're able to kind of cut from here. But overall, I think that the deck is relatively solid out of the box, and it can easily compete with, you know, some of these other precons as well, which is really nice. Now, as for our couple bonus ones here, the first one we're going to have here is the captain. I'm not going to pronounce his name because I cannot pronounce that for the hell of me. So it's got some decent kind of prints in here, but the main reason I wanted to talk about the captain is because of the way he works. Whenever you attack and whenever a horror you control deals combat damage to a player, you mill cards from them, and then at the beginning of your end step you get to choose one, put it onto the battlefield. So you could play other people's creatures, and you get to kind of have this fun kind of mini game of milling people and then getting to look through their graveyards and be like, oh, okay, I want to play my own like whatever dinosaurs and stuff like that over here. You know, you've got all these horrors that you can potentially use in here as well. Horrors are another tribal that, you know, I think that horrors are going to be printed for quite a while. There's literally a horror set coming out at the end of the year. I don't know if it's going to have horrors in it or what. Like there's lots of different things that they could potentially include in that, so that could be horrors, so we'll see. But overall, it's just a really, really fun deck. It's not a fun deck to verse because, you know, people end up, you mill all your fun cards, but it's a fun deck to play and a fun deck to kind of pilot other people's decks by stealing away their creatures. And then the second one here from our bonus ones is going to be the Revenant Recon. So this is one of the Murders at Karlov Manor ones. This is another one that this one here is on here because of the reprints. This is a better like Commander Black collection than the Commander Black collection was, is what we've decided over here, because there's just so many solid black cards in here, whether it's, you know, like, you know, Rise of the Dark Realms, we've got Reanimate, we've got Black, we've got Toxic Deluge, we've got Black Sun Zenith as well. Over here we've got like Necromancy, which hasn't had a reprint since 1997, I think we like when I looked it up there was, and I am forgetting the last one, Phyrexian Arena as well, Animate Dead. There is just so many really, really solid black reprints in here. The blue ones aren't too bad either. Like, you know, you've got Brainstorm, you've got Mission Briefing there. Not as solid though. Like Phyrexian Metamorph's not a too bad one. Sphinx of the Second Sun's going to find use. Final Word Phantom is just really, really hilariously great, and I love both the art and the flavor text for it. But overall, the main reason that this one is on here is to say, you know, you could get this, you could pull it apart, you're going to get plenty of value from it. The reprints potentially will go obviously down in value once people, you know, buy it for that, but the great reprints in here are easily going to be worth like the price that you're going to pay for this. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. I'll quickly go through them again. Blame Game, Enduring Enchantments, Exit from Exile, Cavalry Charge, we've got Masters of Evil, Deep Clue Sea, Blood Rites, Explorers of the Deep, we've got Rise of Rohan, and then Veloci-RAMP-Tor, with our special bonus ones being Mind Flayarrrs and Revenant Recon. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and again, make sure you subscribe. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.